Hey, good morning, everybody. Y'all gonna have to forgive me for coming on for so late, but that's what happens when you have, as Kenneth would say, old men in technology. Because I hit some button that I don't have a clue what I hit, and that button make the screen go larger so that um, I could not go live. So I had to literally go back out, come back in, um, uh, come back in and to get the screen to act right. And so here we are. Uh, Kenneth's going to be on a little later. He thought he wasn't going to be on the show today, so he's going to be on a little later. And what I'm doing right now is kind of talking to you while I send him his credentials to get on the show. I typically don't like doing shows out by myself because I don't like talking to myself on these shows, to be quite frank with you. I think we had a interesting week this last week with what's going on nationally. I think that what you're seeing right now is a deliberate attempt to get rid of black. Here, my screen has just went empty. Get rid of black voting power. They seem to be doing a damn good job of it, and I don't know if we are mobilizing correctly to prevent it. And as a matter of fact, I think a lot of people think there's really nothing we can do, and it's crazy to me that, in my opinion, we seem to be sitting on our hands, and I don't know if that's because we don't really know what to do, which is we don't really know what to do. And I get it. It seems like it's overwhelming, but the stuff that they're doing right now is so insidious and so it's almost like, be honest with you, is we just don't know what to do. They're hitting us so hard with it, with what they're doing in Texas is unbelievable. You know, they're literally trying to get rid of Jasmine Crockett's district because they don't like what she's saying. And to me, I'm just keep going, what are we doing about it? Like what are we doing? Is there anything we can do? Does anybody have any suggestions? Do you think we have enough people out here who can literally move people to do something about it? And the counties or the cities or the states that have the power to do something to offset some of this, are they doing anything about it? I don't necessarily know if they're doing anything about it. You know, here you got the state of Texas with Greg Abbott saying we really don't care what you do, and I want to say that I do want to say that, you know, as African Americans, we're hesitant to say certain things because there's always going to be some inevitable pushback because we don't control the infrastructure of the country, and you can be punished in so many different ways. And I don't know what I suggest. To be honest with you, Kenneth, I'm just as baffled as everybody else, but I do know what we're doing is, I don't know if we have the ability to wait it out. But these particular legislators, these rural legislators, these particular Republican legislators, are obviously saying, we don't give a fuck what y'all do. We don't care. We don't care what y'all do. And I sent you your invite, Kenneth. We don't care what y'all do. There's nothing you can do to stop us. And I think that that's a part of the mental game, is to get people to the point where they feel like there's nothing they can do. And I think that those states and those cities, particularly those states that are blue states, are going to have to realize, come up with a different game plan. Let me back up. Sometimes you don't want to become what you hate the most. And sometimes you have to become what you hate the most in order to stop people from just oppressing you and oppressing your community, and not just your community, but other white folks. And because I thought about something today, and I was, and so I kind of do extreme numbers, and I was sitting there thinking, like, during the elections, if you have 35% of white folks voting for a candidate, and then you have 65% of other minorities voting for a candidate. I'm missing something. Where are the? Oh, I don't think that's for me. Voting for a particular candidate. You have a responsibility, those 35% of white folks who are in agreement with you, to look after their interests too. And if like the state of California, state of New York, and state of Illinois, state of Minnesota, nobody really wants to get into a tit for tat with these people. But when they start saying that we're going to insidious behavior, and they're going to create 5 seats in order for them not to lose the midterms, and they're going to redistrict and gerrymander so bad that they're going to dilute African American voting power. Yes, that's why elections count. Again, we can get into that, and I agree with that, and I agree with that. That's why elections count. But are we now have to find somebody? And I know Kenneth gonna say it shouldn't be just one person. Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't just be one person. But Obama was one person. Obama was one person that was able to galvanize people just because he was that uniquely qualified to speak to people and to move people. Obama was that one person. Martin Luther King was that one person. Jamal Bryant, to a certain degree, is one person. You have to have a messenger that can move people. That's what me and Marion say all the time. Do I like it that's like that? Absolutely not. Is it something that's been shown in the past? That's how it is? Absolutely, yes, that's what it's been shown. Is that you got to have somebody that can get the message out to move people. Or you better have groups of people to mobilize people. Because my thing when I get on here and talk about it, I talk about it in terms of the African American community, because throughout history, African Americans and their decisions have benefited everybody. The decisions we make and decisions that African American leaders normally make don't just benefit African Americans. Number one, because they can't, because we're a minority in the country. Number two, it's not the right thing to do. So, unless we're going to start being way better, way more effective, and electing people who can mobilize people. Because right now, my criticism of black elected officials right now, my main criticism is you all cannot move people to vote. That's my main criticism. You don't seem to be able to move. You don't seem to be able to. You're a great bureaucrat, which we need. But when it's time to get people to move them to go and vote, we don't seem to have anybody in place that can move people to vote. We lost Jamal Bowman's seat. Who I thought was an effective state legislator, but obviously he couldn't get enough people to move to vote in New York, and that's why he lost the race. We don't have anything that's blunting AIPAC when they decide they're going to come after people that we elected for the benefit of us. Let's say, I wish Democrats would push back, like Gavin Newsom stated. Exactly. But here, I'm gonna give you a personal viewpoint on something. I was in Texas going over a little year ago, and I was relocating a guy who was a great guy, who was really, really smart. He was a lawyer and an engineer. And I asked him about voting, but he didn't seem to be so concerned about it. He just didn't seem to, well, how about this? He didn't have the concern I had about it. And I didn't live in Harris County, he did. And I was like, man, they're literally trying to take away your biggest voting block in Texas. Y'all not concerned about this? Y'all gonna be voted right out of any power. In Houston. Houston is like all they got. But Houston is the biggest voting block in the state. As Houston goes, so goes the state of Texas. As Houston votes, so goes the state of Texas. That's why they try to nullify Harris County so much. I didn't see the urgency. I just didn't see the urgency. And that was coming up on the election for the presidential election. I didn't see the urgency. And if that's not an urgent thing, it's almost like people are really believing that it's not going to touch them. So let me tell you my sister Harriet's now personal experience with it this week. Our family's personal experience. Personal. My mom suffers from macular degeneration, which is not a disease. It's a condition of the eye that eventually causes you to go blind. And so she would, in macular, Harry, correct me if I'm wrong, for each shot that she gets in her eye, it's extremely expensive. I think it's like $3,000 a pop for each eye, for 3 over here, 3 over here. So that's how expensive it is. And a lot of hers is paid by Medicaid, but the copay is ridiculous. So when my mom went to her appointment this week, my sister sent us a text and said, typically her copay was it was help paid for by this group that got a federal grant. And I think her copay was, correct me if I'm wrong, Harry, like $100, something like that. Well, her copay went up to $416 because they took that particular group's federal funding. They took that particular group's federal funding, so her copay went through the roof. Now, she was able to afford it, but I promise you that there was so many people in there that could not afford it. Promise you. See, where me and Kenneth tend to, and I'm probably a little more visceral than Kenneth, and because Kenneth's still worried about his mama coming down out of heaven and slapping him upside his head, and I probably need to be too. But my mama ain't as mobile as Kenneth's mama was before she died. We, for some strange reason, are waiting for this to step to our doorstep and to cause us pain, which is what Marion says every time he's on this show. Every time he's trolling or watching us, he says they got to feel the pain. Well, my thing has been, what makes you think they're not going to take that pain to the point where you can't get rid of the pain? Like, what makes you think that they're going to come back and let you get some of these rights that they're taking away from you? That you better fight like hell. So my problem with Democrats is, well, how many y'all call for a work stoppage? Period. Because they're trying to take that power away from you too by going to automation. Why haven't you called for a work stop? Why haven't you called for a general strike? Why haven't you literally sat down and said, we're calling for people to literally block the streets? I don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand. And I think that what's going on with a lot of our elected representatives, God bless them, is that they don't think, they're like, why should I put myself on the line when people won't even get out and vote? Because I don't think there's any other logic to it. Why should I put myself on the line for that? Why should I put myself on the line if the people who elect me in office don't get out and give me the support that I need in order to speak up on their behalf? And here's the kicker. Y'all might not like this. A lot of people don't like what I'm about to say. And I'm so glad we got away from this anti-Semitic trope of saying, hey, you're anti-Semitic if you say anything against Israel or people of the Jewish religion that you disagree with. AIPAC pay for their shit. AIPAC pays for their stuff. And what I mean by that is they get behind the person they want to push in the direction they want the country to go. They do. Look at Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries takes a lot of money from AIPAC. So do you really believe that Hakeem Jeffries is going to go against AIPAC? I don't recall Hakeem Jeffries going against AIPAC when they were going after Jamal Bowman, and that's his fellow New York State congressperson. And if you don't blunt that with your own support, I don't know what you expect people to do. I don't know what you expect. AIPAC is the lobbying group for the American Israeli, what is it called? The American Israeli, they're the ones that lobby all the congressmen to support Israeli activities. It's the lobbyist group for Israel, but it's comprised of all mostly Americans, or if not all Americans, who are of Jewish or who are of the Jewish religion, and they put a lot of money into American Israel Public Affairs Committee. They put a lot of money into supporting candidates around the country that are in line with what they believe how Israel should be treated. And generally, up until this year, anytime somebody spoke out against some of AIPAC's activities, they brand you as anti-Semitic. They brand you if you say, hey, I don't think Israel should be doing what they're doing. It's anti-Semitic. And I think that's worn off. But AIPAC puts a lot of them. AIPAC is the one that got Cynthia McKinney back in 2002, that when Hank Johnson won her seat. AIPAC is the one that put a lot of money into getting rid of Cynthia McKinney. Even though Cynthia McKinney now is what she said is coming to true. Hey, follow the money. That's AIPAC. And if you aren't willing to, so a lot of Elise Slotkin, Hakeem Jeffries, Meeks, a lot of people take a lot of money for AIPAC. And bottom line, it's just hard to serve. It's hard to serve another group when this group over here is giving you all the money for your campaign, the money you need to run campaigns, the money you need to get people out. It's hard to do. So AIPAC is. So my point being, if you don't blunt what AIPAC is doing, and you know that somebody has to run a campaign and they need millions of dollars, and AIPAC comes in and says, hey, I'll give you 500,000. Because you could do unlimited amount of money with political action committees now, unlimited. If you aren't backing those people, then they're going to go where the money goes. And a lot of times, I'll say this all the time, man, shit, sometimes people don't want your thoughts and prayers. They need your money. They need your money because they need your money. And so when you don't have money to run campaigns, I can tell you right now, I'm watching a campaign that's about to happen in the city of Atlanta right now with some of our council people. They don't start really campaigning until September, going to November, because they don't have the money to put ads on TV and to do flyers and to do all the stuff that you need to run big campaigns. Well, AIPAC does. And there's some African American political action committees, but I'm willing to bet you they're not well funded, because we haven't well funded. We had this tendency, in my opinion, not to back the people who are putting their necks on the line for us. And I say that all the time. We have this tendency not to back them for whatever reasons y'all want to, you want to come up with. That we don't back them. We don't put the money behind them. And so they can't fight the fight that you need to fight for them. And they aren't beholden to you. You want them to be beholden to you just because they're African American. Well, they can't be beholden to you if AIPAC sent them their money and you aren't. And to get back to what we're talking about, because I'm all over the place right now. This is creeping up on everybody's doorstep. It happened to hit my family this week. And well, is that how ALC is doing and saying what she does because of AIPAC? What about John? John Ossoff is Jewish. John Ossoff is going to take money. John Ossoff is going to say certain things about AIPAC and Israel. AOC raises AOC. I'm surprised she did what she did last week, but AOC doesn't take any corporate money. AOC is a money generating machine. Jasmine Crockett is a money generating machine. But Donald Trump can't stand Jasmine Crockett, which is why they're going after Jasmine Crockett's district, which is why I say, okay, well, they're going after Jasmine's district. What are the people who she represents? What are they doing about it? At the end of the day, it comes back down to the electorate. What are you doing about it? Because she can't do anything without you all's backing. So if they're going after the electorate and you say, I'm going to sit this one out, okay, here's a consequence of you sitting it out. Here's a consequence of you saying I'm not going to get in the street. Here's a consequence of you saying that I'm not going to protest. Kenneth said, what would protests do? Hey, man, I don't know what to tell you. People got to be made to feel uncomfortable. People have to realize that their votes may cost them personally on their business, as Kenneth would say. Or they got to be made comfortable to be out in public. They got to be made to be uncomfortable. See, it's always amazing me this one thing that happened at the last election. There's a different air. There's a different vibe in the air at a Harris campaign and a Trump campaign. At a Trump campaign, you go to a Trump campaign and they made you feel that if you said the wrong thing, you can get your ass kicked. And there was plenty of videos out there saying it. In other words, they were going to make you feel uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable, to come to a Trump campaign. Do you think the King's protest accomplished anything? Yes, I think the King's protest accomplished something. I think it did. I think that some of these guys just don't care, and they are on the side of people who they know they are giving tacit approval for violence. They say they not, but they know. They know they're giving tacit approval for violence. They know they are, because you're watching ICE and some of those people get away with. They're giving them tacit approval for violence through their silence. That's where the Proud Boys come in. That's where ICE comes in, and this violence you're seeing taking place. And that's why you got so many people on social media. Let's be frank, social media is the way most people consume their news, telling our community to sit it out. And I keep going, tell me how that strategy works. Show me where it works. Because what it seems to me is that they don't care if you sitting it out. They're doing what they want to do in spite of you sitting it out. Now, in fact, they hoping you let it go quietly through. That gerrymandering thing in Texas was a 5-alarm fire. Everybody should have been down there. They should have shut that meeting down. They should have done that meeting damn near in secret, thinking they're going to get out of there without some hell to be paid. But they know. Look at what happened in Tennessee. What was it, yesterday? Elon Musk holds this thing for just Republicans about what he's going to do in the state of Tennessee. If you haven't looked at it, and this data center he's going to build, and they weren't even letting Democratic. They had a meeting in Justin, Jackson's district at the airport, and wouldn't let him into the meeting. Good morning, Stacy. Wouldn't let him into the meeting. Because there's no consequence to their behavior. There's no consequence to their behavior. And if you don't think that works, if you don't think that, unfortunately, that's going to have to be a part of the equation. Go back and look at what happened when those neo-Nazis decided to go to that town outside of Cleveland. They decided they were going to go and protest in the oldest black township north of the Mason-Dixon line. And they thought there was no consequences until those brothers, and I didn't see one state rep. Let me be clear. I didn't see one elected rep, or they didn't show their face, or one state rep go and join those brothers who went and confronted those neo-Nazis and said, oh, you're not doing it on this bridge. Right outside of Cincinnati, right. You're not doing it on this bridge. We don't give a damn what our state rep said. You're not coming over here and doing any act of terrorism on this bridge in our township. And they ran to help. Now, if they had to get police escorts to get out. They do only care about money. They only care about money, but so good point. They only care about money. So are we raising the money? You and I had this conversation, Kenneth, a while ago. I was like, well, shoot, maybe we ought to just come up with the money and bribe Donald Trump. Maybe we ought to go ahead and, if this is the way it works, maybe we ought to just go ahead and give him $1 billion so he leave us the hell alone. Maybe if that's the way, if that's the way we're doing business right now for the next 4 years, maybe we ought to stop fighting it. It's a radical idea. But right now, he's going after every black voting block. They just reduced the money for Section 8 in the city of Atlanta. So the Atlanta Housing Authority doesn't have the money for Section 8. I'm not saying they don't have the money, but they're reducing the money, which means that you're going to have more people homeless in Atlanta. They already said they're trying to cut their grants to Atlanta Housing Authority. So what is my city council doing about it? What is my county commission doing about it? How are we holding them accountable? Are we saying that, hey, we're going to come up with the money? Because at the end of the day, we're going to have more homeless. So if it's about the money, are we raising money? Not just boycotts, are we raising money? Yeah, I agree. Make them feel the pain economically. Are we coming up with lists to make them feel the pain economically? Who are we going to hit? I think you said a year ago, we need to find out every state legislator if they have a business. But here's where I think they have outsmarted us. I have said numerous number of times that if you look at the bill that was just passed, and they gave ICE 100. They gave Tom Corman $145 million to create the largest non-military security force in the United States, which is ICE. $145 billion. And I said it's been a grift from day one. And by the way, Kenneth, did you get your invitation? I said it's a grift since day one. I said just do the numbers. If you can take 500 billion, which they obviously have, or 200 billion, which they obviously have put into the federal government budget, and you can divide that by every Republican senator and congressman, that's going to be more money than they ever made in their lifetime. Ever in their lifetime. It's just a numbers game. Ever in their lifetime. If it's 450 something members of Congress and the Senate, and you cut that in half, you take out 217 Democrats, 217 Democrats in Congress, and then 50, what were we at? 53, 49, 53, 49 U.S. senators. You say we just gonna leave them out of the grift, and you're trying to divide $100 billion amongst those people. That's a lot of damn money. Right, we do need several more mile barns. That's a hell of a grift. So of course they're going to, because if they have literally said they don't give a damn what our community thinks. Matter of fact, they're going to try to weaken our community exponentially. And I always say this. I've been saying this for a while. There's never been a social movement in America that African Americans didn't lead. Hey, I'm sorry, folks. That's just the cards we've been dealt. I don't know why it's not effective when other people do it. I get it. Nobody wants to get beat up. Nobody wants to die. And my thing to that is this strategy that y'all got. Well, guess what? Me and Kenneth argue about this all the time. I'll be glad when he gets on here. In Montgomery, Alabama, and right below Selma, which is why you had the Selma March. A lot of people don't know why you had the Selma March. It's a little town outside of Selma that started all this. And they didn't have nothing. They didn't have the jobs. They didn't have the clout. All they had were their bodies. And they were willing to put their bodies on the line. They were willing to put their bodies on the line. And to say, you're going to put us all in jail. You're going to beat us all, but we're no longer going to live like this. And they were the ones to start this movement. And I'm curious to think, because me and Michael corresponded quite a bit on Facebook. Do y'all think this is working? We're 8 months in right now. Do you have any proof that our community sitting this out has been beneficial to our community? I mean, I'm open to see what the proof is. And do you think that it's going to get better, short of something cataclysmic happening, like the president dies in office? Do you have any proof? I don't have any proof that it's working. I've watched Roland Martin. I've watched Tiffany Cross. I've watched Angela Rye. This strategy of, we just going to sit it out. I'm going to sip my tea. I keep hearing that. Is it working? Or is it you're going to keep doing it until they come and eliminate your jobs? Yeah, it hasn't gotten uncomfortable enough for people, especially young people. It definitely hasn't gotten uncomfortable enough for people. Like I said, from a personal level, like you and I, what proof do you have that the protests work? What proof do I have the protest? You've gotten some injunctions by some judges. Matter of fact, Rachel Maddow did a show about this the other day. And I'm gonna take responsibility that I don't come in here with the proof. But Rachel Maddow did a show about this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, saying no, these protests are working. Look at some of the and if you think it's not working, Michael, then what's next? I can go with that hypothesis that it's not working, that the protests aren't working. So what's next? Do we just wait? Because now they're trying to rig the midterms openly. If you have this, I don't think enough minorities this is what I believe. This is going to sound, I don't think enough minorities who our forefathers helped get in the country have felt uncomfortable enough. Target worked some. Uncomfortable enough from us to keep doing the stuff they're doing. Like the deputy director, the head of the civil rights division in the DOJ right now is an East Indian woman who's taken all these civil rights cases that were geared up and lined up, and she's dropping them. So if the protests aren't working, then what would you suggest we do? And it can't. And if you don't think the boycott is working, which is an economic boycott, then what do we do? I mean, I keep saying, what do we do? Because I'm not interested to say, hey, it's not working. Okay, so then what works? What can work? What can we do to get enough of a mass to make it work? Because, like I said, I didn't see the urgency in Harris County when I was down there last year. I just didn't. You know, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, they're coming for y'all rights and y'all right to vote and y'all representation, and y'all not in the streets. Like they are openly saying they're coming for Harris County, and now they're openly saying they're coming for your district. Other than a valid overthrow to go, we need to wait till the election next year. Here's where you and I always had this issue: what elections? If the elections are rigged from the start, what do you do? If the elections, and that's what they're trying to do, they're speeding up the process to try to rig the election. How do you fight big money? You fight big money with small donations, but you got to get everybody on the same page. You fight big money because let's just use African Americans. 34 million African Americans who are registered to vote. If every one of them sent $10 to somebody or something, that's $340 million. That's just 10. So how do you fight big money? You either gonna create big money, as Dion would say, and I'm gonna make this a football analogy, as Dion would say, when they asked him about is Colorado ever gonna be competitive, and he said, as soon as I get some big hogs on that offensive line to compete with their big hogs, I'm gonna be competitive. So as soon as we get some black billionaires and we create some black billionaires and trust some black billionaires, I always have radical ideas when I think you got to have something radical. When I think you got to have something radical, typically I have radical. I don't even know if they're going to work. Like the way I see it right now is you come up with a fund and you give it to Robert Smith because he's been shown to be trustworthy to deal with money. And maybe he and Obama get together and they start handing out this money and not going through the DNC. Because if in the state of Georgia, he won the state of Georgia by 100-something thousand and over 1 million African Americans didn't vote. It's kind of like what Kenneth and I said a lot last year. That's because they didn't feel seen. So how do you make them feel seen? Exactly. I thought the process was not enough. Organized voter registration, door knocking, more podcasts, my fact. Then more people gonna have to come and do podcasts. You're right, and because you're going to have to make them. I think Obama's done his part, and I think the edition didn't start until last month. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with what you're saying. I keep telling Kenneth this, and I don't know if he just missed the point. In a rational, reasonable time, yes, but they are trying to do stuff in real time. Like this redistricting in Texas is designed to affect the next election. They did a test case in Alabama, if you remember 2 years ago, whereas the Supreme Court said, yes, what they did was illegal, but we're not going to start it right now because the elections are too close, knowing that what they did was illegal, instead of making them start over. If you get my saying, they're doing it now. And once you get something in place, then you got to go sue to get it out of place. It's much harder to get it right than it is to when you lose a right, it's much harder to get it back, because then you got to go through years of lawsuits, people suing each other. You got to go to the Supreme Court, blah 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 blah. That's why you can't afford to lose them. So again, I don't know. I mean, I'm asking. Here's a question I have. These people are not reading at all. At all. So the question becomes for me as a community, how do we protect the community? It's just a matter of time. There's just a matter of time before we start having dumbass, entitled white boys rolling through black communities doing what they think they used to do. It's just a matter of time because they think they're protected. It's just a matter of time. And they aren't going to be uncomfortable. It's just a matter of time before they start rolling through Atlanta. It's just a matter of time. Now, we don't help it when we go out. And I'm not going to get in there. That's a whole different tangent if I start going there. What do we do as a community? I think the first thing we need to realize is, this is going to sound crazy. As long as we're in America to a certain degree, we're checkmated as far as how much power we're going to have. And we're checkmated in the sense that if we think that we're going to fight for rights, it's just going to be for African Americans. It's not going to work like that. The rights that you fight for are going to be shared by everybody, even though you paid the biggest cost. Because the problem is, if you don't fight for the rights, you still pay the biggest cost. You still pay the biggest cost. If you fight, you pay the biggest cost. If you don't fight, you pay the biggest cost. You're going to pay the biggest cost because this group, this community is the biggest threat to the other community. It always has been that way. It just is what it is. But I always tell people like Kenneth, Mike, or Harry, where else you going to go? You have citizenship nowhere else. And ain't nobody running to invite us and say, hey, come over here. Not a one person. So you're going to have to fight for what you got. So, I'm just interested if it's not work. What do we do? How do we organize and galvanize in the places that we still hold some semblance of power to say, this is what we're going to do? I understand, but you can't do it about the election. We can boycott the companies thing. I'm going to say this to you again. I agree with you in a rational, reasonable environment. I'm not going to be surprised if there are no elections. I just watched them do it in Miami. We just watched Miami push off elections for a year. They keep having these test cases, these small test cases to see if they can do. They keep testing the fence like the Raptors in the first Jurassic Park. And they keep doing this stuff to see if, will this spur them on to do something? I'm not going to say violent, but it's kind of like when Netanyahu was trying to get rid of the Supreme Court in Israel. They shut Israel down. Take away Gaza for right now, separate the two. They shut it down. They had general work strikes with hundreds of thousands of people to say, we're not going to let you do that. And he didn't do it. So don't tell me it can't work. They did it in Poland just last November. They shut the country down. They got in the street. And sometimes the way they make them, and that's why I keep saying, I don't understand Democratic leaders that haven't called for a general strike. I didn't understand Democratic leaders that didn't say, instead of just talking about ICE, use some of your budget money for you all to get together and go out to Los Angeles and say, y'all gonna have to arrest all of us. And it's the same thing that happened here in Atlanta. Sorry to be so pessimistic, but I think it may be too late because too many Black people don't seem to care and too complacent against a scorched earth administration. I hope you're wrong, because we're gonna pay for that. We're going to pay for that tremendously. We're going to pay for that tremendously. For those Black folks that think that they're going to get not touched by this, again, use my family as an example. We got touched by it this week. And I'm sure that's not, and that's not, I had nieces who worked for the federal government. One of them got laid off, was one of the Black women that got laid off. So excuse me, that wasn't the first time it touched my family. This is the second time it touched my family. That's affected my family personally. And for those people who think it's not going to touch your family because you're a teacher or your union or blah, 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 it's going to touch you. It's going to touch you. And then it's going to start touching your pockets. And they're just hoping that they can keep you complacent enough that they can get done so much that is so far gone, like Harriet says, that there's really nothing you can do about it, but bow your heads like you in the Bridesmaid's Tale. Because they're that insidious. If you don't think that they're not that insidious, that they'll use violence, you're not watching we're not watching the same show. We are not watching the same show. If you don't think that those people they have, those bureaucrats, Vaught, Corman, Hegseth, Known, the chick that's running the civil rights division at the DOJ. Those are some prejudiced, racist people. Known ran a state that literally damn near has what? Maybe 1% of black people, maybe. John Thune comes from a state that really has no black people. He's the head of the Senate. Susan Collins, I venture to say Susan Collins is a closet racist. Just touched my immediate family. My wife lost her job at Kennesaw State. Trump card. See? I think people's heads need to be on a swivel. I've said that for so long. I think billionaires' heads need to be on a swivel. If you make the decision that you're going to affect my family to put more money in your pocket, and you're becoming an existential threat to my family or my community, your head needs to be on a swivel. You don't need to be comfortable anywhere you go. I know that sounds radical because they're doing stuff that literally affects us on a day-to-day survival level. And saying, you figure it out. You figure it out. They are willing, and here's the kicker. They're willing to put this debt on anybody's, no matter what race. I don't agree with nothing Thomas Massey says out of Kentucky. Not a goddamn thing. But one thing he has been saying is, you're going to put all this debt on our grandchildren, and this white children, black children, Asian. You can't separate out the brown people. This is going to be debt on all of our children, and which is why Trump is after him now. Because it's a grift. Name one time any of those states, those senators, and they're starting to trickle down to the states, will make the money they can make right now. He is showing them how to make money off the federal government and poor people and communities, black, white, Puerto Rican. And they should not be comfortable walking the states and just saying they can do that to people. Because every time, think about it, every time they walk somewhere or go somewhere, it's somebody somewhere near them that's been affected. Are the athletes saying this thing against us? There are no more athletes like Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, maybe LeBron, Chris Paul. They aren't using their platforms. There are no more Jim Browns. Which athletes that Colin Kaepernick, they didn't back Colin Kaepernick, except for the safety from San Francisco, and they ran him out of the league. No, hell no. I don't look to football players for a goddamn thing. They great at football. I'm always amazed that people that look to them for anything other than that, because they have not shown themselves to be the brightest of the bunch. He got one of our heroes up at the White House the other day, Lawrence Taylor. Some of y'all can say he's suffering from PTSD or CTE, but the people with the platforms are not talking about this. The people with platforms bigger than me and Kenneth are not talking about this. They talking about Cam Newton and his relationships because he got a big enough platform. I'm not listening to Cam Newton about a goddamn thing but football. Talk football. But I'm not listening to that for anything else. If you're going, but Cam don't want to get into politics. That which I understand. Ryan Clark might. But there's no basketball players, because now what they're doing, and Michael, you tell me you disagree, is now what they're doing in the NBA, they're doing the NBA what they did to Major League Baseball. They're getting the African-American genetics from third world countries, Venezuelans, Dominican Republics, Ronald Acuna, all of them. All of them are of African descent with the genetics, but they ain't about to come out here and speak about nothing political. A registered state, yeah. Then you know where he was and why. So comedians are speaking out more about the athletes. Absolutely. And but here's the thing. You can't ask them to put their heads on the chopping block if they aren't going to have the support of the community. Like me and Kenneth had this argument back and forth. Like I think we talked about it last week. I can't ask Obama to go in and fight this war that they're trying to run against him legally by himself. We all should be sending him money. We should all be sending him money. It's not just his battle. Obama was out there for all of us. It's not just his battle where he worked millions of dollars. I don't give a damn. This battle is not just about him. Everybody could send him $1 to spend to pay for his legal fees. That's $34 million. Everybody could send him $1. Why should he have to come out of his personal pocket? Didn't he do enough? We do the same things to our leaders every time. Whenever it's time to back them when they need backing, we sometimes, for some reason, pull back. Martin Luther King was not a rich man when he died, y'all. He wasn't. Brian's the only one. Exactly. Brian's are not going to speak out because they aren't guaranteed. Yep. That's right. Their contracts aren't guaranteed. And me and Mike, we could have a conversation about the National Football League Players Association and the guy that was running it just resigned. That was nuts. And I remember the story. This is a personal story before I get off. When I was first doing deliveries, in my early stage doing deliveries, I had a store that sold. It was crazy. They had furniture downstairs and they sold trinkets and bouquets upstairs. And I had to go, and they called me and said, "We need you to come over here and personally pick this up." I said, "I can't send some of the guys." Like, "No, we need you to personally pick it up." And I had to go pick up this bouquet of roses, most beautiful thing I ever seen as far as flowers. And it was probably like 100 and something roses. It was stunning. And they were like, "We need you to deliver this. We don't want anybody to deliver it. You have to deliver it personally." It's like, okay. And I came over here where I live right now to Sunset Avenue. Didn't even know where I was going, but it was for Coretta Scott King. And it was something that was been brought by Oprah. I can say this now. So Oprah had this bouquet for her birthday. And I come to this little bitty house that doesn't look fixed up or whatnot. And I go and I hand it to the assistant. And then about a year later, Oprah moves her to this, where Elton John used to live at. And I'm not going to say where it was because I don't know if he's still there, but it's a real secure building. It's most expensive condo, most extensive development on Peachtree. Oprah moved Coretta Scott King into this house. And the reason Oprah moved her on this house, from what I was told, is because she couldn't get the goddamn roof fixed at the Martin Luther King house. The roof was leaking. And Oprah was like, "How in the hell is the widow of Martin Luther King living like this?" So she moved her out. How is that possible in our community that we will let Coretta Scott King or anybody that lost so much for us live like that? And I think that sends a message to other people. Y'all let Martin Luther King's widow live like this? Like, how is that those churches and those ministers didn't know that you didn't take care of his widow? That she couldn't get a roof fixed. And it's not a big roof. It's not even a big house. Because now we're having it redone. We have the responsibility to watch over people who look after us. The masses. When you have somebody fighting for the masses, that's why AIPAC is so effective. Their leaders aren't worried about where their support is going to come from. They're not. But Hakeem Jeffries is. And can you blame him? Jasmine raises more money, but can you blame him? That's our responsibility, and I don't understand how we don't see that. When I sit here and I criticize state legislators in Georgia for being silent, I also understand that they probably look at me and going, "Yeah, motherfucker, you come and raise the money and do it." I get it, because they have a hard time raising money for speaking up, because we don't do it as a collective. Because sometimes we think, well, they got money, so it's not their responsibility to come out of their personal pocket to see about the whole community. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to let them know we're protected. It's our responsibility to let them know Mayor Dickens is protected, or our city councilmen who are picking up our slack. It's our responsibility to let Fonnie know she's protected. Ours. Because that's what the Anti-Defamation League and all those Jewish organizations do. They support and support the spirit. And I can't get mad at that. I can't get mad at them for supporting their people and make sure they're speaking on their issues. I can't get mad at that. If you want Farrakhan to speak up for, then you got to support Farrakhan. It's not just the Nation of Islam that Farrakhan speaks for. It's not. They're all probably going to get in trouble for even mentioning his name, but it's not just their responsibility. It's all of ours. He may say some stuff controversial, but it's not just their responsibility. It's all of ours when he gets up and talks to all of us. It's not enough just to clap your hands and, "Oh, I love Farrakhan, blah, blah, blah," or anybody else. Farrakhan is just a big name. But it's all of our responsibility so that he can feel free to speak what he needs to speak and call truth to power. He got kids too. It's our responsibility to support these leaders. So, I'm not unsympathetic to some of these African-American leaders in the state and nationwide who are scared to speak out because y'all ain't supporting them financially. And they got kids and they got mortgages and car notes. But they're speaking on your behalf and they're taking a risk that they're going to be targeted by the power structure. And until you're ready to do that, we just going to keep spinning in the same position. So there's your answer. What should we do? First, support your goddamn, you got Tanya Miller is the head of the Black Caucus in the state of Georgia right now. Find out where her GoFundMe page or her donation page is and rush her money. Let her have $300,000 in the bank. And God damn it, stop counting what she does with the money. You got to trust her to do what's right with the money. And when she doesn't, don't send it. You're going to have to take a risk. You're not going to audit it, but she needs you in order to do what she needs to do. I'm not really particularly fond about what Nikema Williams is doing, but I'm not going to sit here and say don't send her money since she's sitting there representing us. Maybe that's one of the reasons why she doesn't speak out. If we want to be honest, we don't want to have honest conversations with our community. We just don't. We don't. And when you do, you get folks saying that you a coon, you working for the white man. Kiss my ass. If 11 people get shot on Edgewood the other day, and we know that most of the perpetrators were African Americans, we got a responsibility to say enough is enough. I should be able to go out on Edgewood Avenue and not worried about where there's going to be some young brothers pulling out guns and shooting indiscriminately. That shit shouldn't be acceptable. And that don't make me on no white power structure for saying that shit. That could have been Kenneth's daughter down there, Kenneth's kids down there, or my kids, or Mike and his wife could have been down there. How the hell did they get away with that shit? Right. Questioning what Kamala Harris got, and when somebody like Michael and I say we are the absolute worst, we catch hell for calling a spade a fucking spade. For saying that ain't working, and you sitting there going, that ain't working. Why are we doing it like that? And the minute, oh man, you working, man. That shit doesn't faze me at all. If I hear a brother saying something dumb, I'm gonna call him out. If he says something dumb and he can show me why, hey man, I'm calling him out. I'm not doing this no more. I'm not gonna sit here and be scared to speak out when we got a culture issue. There's a lot of us that's supposed to be speaking out. I'm not going to be scared about somebody coming by my house no more with guns because they worried about me saying something about the YNs. Man, fuck all that. Enough is enough. We got a cultural problem and black men need to step up and change it. And black men of any type of means should step in. And I don't care what mistakes you made in your past life. You know right from wrong. And if we want these representatives to get out there and fight for us, we got to support them. I can be critical of them and still support them financially because they got hard jobs. They got hard jobs. Their charge comes exponentially harder when they don't have the money, to do their jobs, and somebody else is supplying them with the money. And they got to answer to that person because that person supplied them with the money to run their campaign because we didn't do it. We didn't do it. I guarantee that you can call any black rep and say, do you have a $100,000 war chest for you to go and fight the enemy? All of them are laughing in your face. So how do you expect them to fight the fight? And why would they have to give up? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And we're going to have to change that. We're going to have to talk to our friends. We got to send money. And I ain't said you got to send a whole bunch of money. You got to get a group of people and start sending bundles of money. You got to 10 of your friends sending $50 a pop. That's $500. Hey, here's Tanya Miller. Like I said, she's the new head of the Black Caucus for the state of Georgia. Hey, man, Tanya needs to be funded over and over and over so she can say what the hell she says. She's brilliant. She's smart. She's pretty. She got everything she needs going for her. I bet she don't have the money. I bet she don't have the money. And it has to be focused, laser-like to say, what do we do about Jasmine now they're trying to get rid of her district? What can we do? Who needs to be made uncomfortable? What do we do to get the Mississippi, black people in Mississippi to vote? $5 is enough. Look, $5 between us. That's at least she knows somebody's paying attention. And then you can ask State Rep Prince, how much money do you have? Send them money. You got to get the process going. You got to get your friends to give money. If you're not going to get in the fight and you want other people to get in the fight for you, you have to support them financially so that they can say what they need to say, knowing that they don't have to worry about how they're going to live the next day, day by day, because they got bills too. You have to, because the Republicans that right now are grifting. This is a grift, and it's now at the state level. This is a grift. I sat there and I watched it two weeks ago when they tried to get rid of what we call a tax allocation district. It just affects my neighborhood. We got $41.3 million in surplus. The only tad that had a surplus, and they want to take it and put it in the general fund. Money that's supposed to be for this community. $41.3 million surplus. And I was like, oh, the grift is hit locally now. But if you don't get on the commissioners and from Mo Ivy to Arrington to the other lady that was in agreement, I don't even remember her name. It's not gonna work. This is not gonna work. You got to take one round of your golf money to send it to Tanya Miller, or send it to Brian Prince, or to send it to Sonia Halpern, until they have enough money that they can say what they need to say and not have to worry. And yes, sometimes the money may be misappropriated in some sense or fashion. But the question is, are they doing what they need to do? So anyway, y'all, it's 11:12. My phone's starting to blow up. And this is a great show. I'm gonna start doing this once a week. How do we get people to vote if we intend to be able to vote? People didn't vote. Here's my answer to that. And I can only go by personal experience. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Because a lot of times it's about time, what's your financial situation. Here's my idea. I'm a realtor. I'm willing to donate 10% of my commission if someone comes to me and sell or buy them a property. Look, that type of stuff right there. You help Mike, you buy a house from Mike, he's saying, hey, I'm gonna donate 10% of my commission. We need more of that, because we have to support these people. Kenneth, what you say? Because you never came on the show. We got to elect people outside the urban areas care about the people. I agree. Let me answer Harriet's question if I can. Look what happened to Kama. Let me tell you why. Not enough of us, Mike can relate to this. When my grandsons last year were going down to the park right around my corner from my house, that could be sometimes sketchy. And I was worried. What I did, I said, okay, I can go down and get some exercise. I'm too old to be out here, but I can go get some exercise. I could try to move, blah, 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 just so I can watch. So I would go down. When I brought some cheap basketball shoes, high tops, and went down there and said, I'm in decent shape. I'm going to run around with the guys. What I found out is the guys on the basketball court showed me a certain deference when they were comfortable talking to me, and I could move the conversation into stuff like voting. I could say while we're playing and blah, oh gee, blah, 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 Lena, whatever they want to call me. And I could say, man, you registered to vote. And at first it was always a resistance. But the more we talked, the more I realized they got comfortable with me, and we talked about other stuff. Are you registered to vote? Are you in school? And it's going to take a lot of us. Mike is going to take you, because I'm not saying you got to go out and play, but you know that when you have camps, it's going to take you talking to people and getting to know them more, because so many of these young guys don't have any mentors that they trust or that they feel comfortable with. And the more they see you, and the more they get to know you, the more they get to touch you, they go, and more they let you talk to them. And you're not going to convince all of them, but you can convince enough to say, well, where are you registered to vote? Do you know what you're voting for? And that's all through being out there running around in that basketball court. I don't go in there and try to rebound and do all that stuff. I got to work next day. I can't afford to have a sprain, but I can run around a little. It helps me health-wise, and it lets them get to know me. Now they know my grandkids. No, that's OG's grandcow right there. That's Uncle. Well, then they know the kids that know. Well, who is that? That's Mr. Leonard. So now they call me Mr. Leonard. And it's a fact that you're going to have to get out there and talk to these people. And be clear. I know there's weapons down there when I'm down there. I know that the backpacks have weapons. I know that, but before stuff gets out of line, you first thing because it's not like when we were little, Mike, and you could foul somebody hard, it might be a fight. Now it's, whew. Now it's like, bro, we really gonna, man, calm down. It's just a basketball game. And then sometimes you have to have that one person down there go, man, it's just a basketball game. To tone down what can easily go from 0 to 100. But I didn't take ownership of that court. So when I see the guys down there doing, what do you do when you drive the car and you make tracks in the court? They did that. Man, why are y'all doing that? You know how much we pay for this court? But now I have the cachet to be able to say that. And I don't have a lot of time. I was going down there worried about my grandson going down there, thinking I don't want nothing down here to pop off without me being down there. But it had a other consequential effects to was that people they not for me. So now they see me driving down the street. What's up? Well, you know, whatever. Hey, Miss Leonard, whatever. Hey, whatever the kids said, the kids who we helped took in because they know those people. Oh no, that's Miss Leonard. That's my pop. So stuff you can do, but you're gonna have to do it all. Let me end it with this. I'm gonna keep saying this. My generation, Harriet, Michael, Kenneth, are the first generation to benefit from the 1964 Civil Rights Act. To benefit. Like, I mean, we were born into it. Now, the people who were born in 56 through, I'm talking about we were born into it. And we have a moral obligation to make sure that was not weakened. We had all that. When you might not have, your opportunities may not have come through for you, but you at least had the opportunity. But do you think they voted or will vote? I don't know. I don't know. I can't control. All I can control is what I can do. All I can do is hope that when I go down and say, hey, you know, it's voting, you got a way to get to the polls. I can't. If I let that stop me, do I think they voted or will vote? Then I won't ever do anything. You'll never get involved if you want to try to get into. Let me go and take a notebook to find out who voted, who didn't vote. I can just try to get the word out as best I can and as honestly as I can and try to have the most influence that I can. And great message. Let me say this about the Black billionaires. I have to keep saying it. That I watched them dog Oprah when she came up with a school in Chicago and then do it in Africa. I've watched billionaires give a lot of money that they don't get credit for. Black billionaires. I've watched guys dog Tyler Perry because they're still worried about his sexuality and not talk about all the stuff that he does because they don't like his movies. I watched Robert Smith give $40 million to Morehouse that I thought, man, we should have reimbursed him that because a ton of us that could have sent $5 or $6 or $10 and say, hey, man, we appreciate it, but that ain't really your responsibility. So collectively, we're going to send you a check for $5 million. People say, well, you don't need that $5 million. Yes, he does. I trust him to take the $5 million and do something else positive with it. He just showed me that. Take them voter registration forms. Good idea. So when it comes to people asking Black billionaires, first you got to show Black billionaires that you're willing to do stuff. I watched Robert Johnson. People don't want to say this. I watched Robert Johnson when he owned BET come up with a Black show with Ed Gordon to try to combat all the Black evening shows, all the other evening shows on CNN, blah, 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 blah. And I know I read that he was spending $1.1 million per show. And we didn't watch. We didn't watch. Khan from the Jacksonville Jaguars put up all that money for the Black network. We didn't watch. So we can do all we can. We could talk shit about them. But unless you go and you start buying and you start, there's a guy on the Native Land podcast yesterday talking about the Morehouse polo thing. And he's like, hey, wait a minute, man, I appreciate they doing it. But we're over here with these quality t-shirts that we do this. We just can't get us to buy. That's a us issue. That's a us issue. And unless you're going to be target, as much as you target, you need to target all of us collectively. And I always just go to 34 million registered because I consider them to be responsible, somewhat responsible because they're registered to vote. We could change a lot, but you better create some billionaires. You better help. Most of the black billionaires we got, a lot of their money is not tied into black people. Robert Smith's money is not tied into black business. Oprah's business was Carnival doesn't want black people to go on the cruise anymore, but black people were the first outside after COVID to bail them to travel. But if Taylor got exactly. Let me be clear. I did not agree with what that guy did on Carnival Cruise Line. Bro, you know you can't go on Carnival and smoke no weed in your room if they say it's no smoking weed in the room. I agree with John Hope Bryant on that one. That's a no-brainer. Because if folks complain, they're going to put you off the ship. But I agree with that other part. But anyway, hey, y'all, I didn't expect to talk this long. Damn, now I'm going to have to hear from Kenneth going, you talk just as much as I talk. Ain't that some shit? Thanks for joining me today. Hey, look, let's not just have these. I don't want to just have these sessions and not do anything. If you're in Georgia, go look up Tanya Miller. She's an attorney. She's brilliant. She's smart. She's the new head of the Black Caucus. And she's still somebody that you could touch and feel, and she'll come places, but she shouldn't be paying for her own trips. That's just bullshit. If somebody asks her to come to Albany, she should have the money in her coffers to be able to go to Albany with the people she needs to go and get those conversations and with the security. That's on us. That's on us. That's on us. So just us who are watching the show, if you just go to her page, go Tanya Miller, that's her name. Go and look her up, send her some money, $10, $20, whatever. Just send her some money to let her know there's people out here watching her so that she can go and represent us around the state. Please, please. Anyway, y'all have a good day. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next week. I'm sure Kenneth will be back, and if not, I'll be back on here. But I'll be up here. I'll be in here during the middle of the week too, because probably every Wednesday I'll get on here by myself. So peace. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. And thanks for joining me.